The last thing my husband ever said to me was about wine. Maria, Nathan whispered, his voice weak but still carrying that sommelier's precision. Don't forget to check the 82 Bordeaux. It's time. Then he closed his eyes for the final time, leaving me with a cryptic message and a heart full of questions. I'm Maria Delacroix, though I was born Maria Castillo before marrying into one of California's most prestigious winemaking families. For 8 years, I'd helped run Delacroix vineyards alongside my husband Nathan, turning a respected family vineyard into one of Napa Valley's most innovative wineries. Our experimental blends had won international awards, and our traditional vintages were sought after by collectors worldwide. But none of that mattered to my mother-in-law, Patricia Delacroix, who had never approved of her son marrying the help. Her words for the viticulture expert who'd originally been hired to modernize their grape production. He's gone. Patricia's voice cut through my grief 2 days after Nathan's funeral. She stood in the doorway of the vineyard house Nathan and I had shared, impeccable in designer black, not a silver hair out of place. And it's time for you to leave. This is my home, I protested, still numb from burying my husband. Nathan and I built this together. Nathan built nothing, she snapped. This vineyard has been in the Delacroix family for 4 generations. You were just a temporary distraction. The property reverts to the family trust now, and you have no claim to it. She handed me an eviction notice already prepared by her lawyers. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises. I stood in our bedroom, my bedroom now, surrounded by 8 years of shared life. Photos from our wedding in the vineyard, Nathan beaming as we toasted with our first award-winning blend. The antique wine opener he'd given me on our first anniversary. The soil samples we'd been studying for a new organic growing section. Don't forget to check the 82 Bordeaux. Nathan's last words echoed in my mind as I mechanically packed my clothes. The 82 Bordeaux. We had several bottles in the cellar, part of the original Delacroix collection that Nathan's grandfather had started. Nathan had always been protective of that vintage, keeping it in a special section of the temperature-controlled cellar. Patricia's voice carried up from downstairs, where she was instructing the estate manager on returning things to proper order. I had less than 2 hours before she would have security escort me out, just enough time to check the cellar one last time. The cellar had always been my favorite place on the property, cool stone walls lined with history in bottle form. The subtle symphony of climate control systems maintaining perfect temperature and humidity. Nathan and I had spent countless hours here, discussing vintages, planning new blends, dreaming about the future. The 82 Bordeaux section was in the back, behind a heavy wooden door that Nathan had installed himself. Family treasures need extra protection, he'd said with that mysterious smile of his. I'd always assumed he meant the wine. The door creaked open, revealing racks of carefully preserved bottles. But something was different. The far wall, usually shrouded in shadow, showed a hairline crack I'd never noticed before. When I touched it, the section moved slightly. My hands trembled as I pressed harder. The wall panel swung inward, revealing a small room beyond. Motion-activated lights flickered on, illuminating not wine racks, but filing cabinets and a desk covered in documents. The first file I opened made my heart stop. It was a deed, the original deed to Delacroix Vineyards. But the name on it wasn't Delacroix. It was Martinez, dated 1947. More documents told a story that Patricia had probably thought was buried forever. The vineyard hadn't been in the Delacroix family for 4 generations. It had belonged to the Martinez family, who had worked this land since California was still part of Mexico. The Delacroix family had acquired it through a combination of predatory loans and forged documents during a period when Hispanic landowners were being systematically dispossessed. Nathan's grandfather hadn't started the vineyard, he'd stolen it. And Nathan had discovered the truth. A leather-bound journal caught my eye. I recognized Nathan's handwriting. My grandfather's sins weigh heavily on me. The Martinez family lost everything, their land, their legacy, their place in the valley. When I discovered the truth in these documents, I knew I had to make it right. Maria doesn't know yet, but her grandmother's maiden name was Martinez. She's the last living heir of the original owners. I've updated my will to return the vineyard to its rightful family through her. Mother will fight it, of course. But there's more. The journal entry was dated just 3 weeks ago. My hands shook as I read on. Discovering that Nathan had spent years secretly documenting everything. The real history of the vineyard. The truth about the family trust. The legal framework for restoring the property to its rightful heirs. Maria, Patricia's voice echoed from upstairs. Security will be here in 20 minutes. I quickly photographed every document with my phone, then reached for the 82 Bordeaux that Nathan had been so insistent about. Behind the bottle was a small key taped to the wall, with a note in Nathan's writing, Safe Deposit Box 247, Valley First Bank. Everything you need is there. As I carefully replaced everything and slipped out of the secret room, I heard footsteps on the cellar stairs. Patricia appeared, flanked by 2 security guards. Still trying to steal our wine? She asked coldly. I clutched my phone, now holding the explosive truth about her family's legacy. Just saying goodbye to the cellar. I'm leaving now. Good, she gestured to the guards. Escort her out. And make sure she doesn't take anything that belongs to the Delacroix family. If she only knew. Valley First Bank's safety deposit box 247 contained exactly what Nathan had promised. Everything I needed. A properly executed will, dated just 2 weeks before his death. USB drives containing years of research into the Martinez family's claim to the land. Most importantly, a letter explaining why he kept this secret even from me. My dearest Maria, he'd written, if you're reading this, then I ran out of time to tell you in person. When I discovered that you were unknowingly the heir to the land my family stole, I knew I had to make things right, but Mother's network of influence in the valley runs deep. I needed to ensure everything was legally bulletproof before revealing the truth. The irony of falling in love with and marrying the very person to whom we owed restitution wasn't lost on me. Perhaps fate has a sense of justice after all. I took the documents to Elena Torres, a lawyer friend who had helped Hispanic families recover stolen property before. Her eyes widened as she reviewed Nathan's research. This is incredible, she said, spreading the papers across her desk. The original deed, proof of the fraudulent transfer, even documentation of similar land thefts throughout the valley. Your husband was thorough. Will it hold up in court? Elena smiled. Better than that. It won't have to. She held up Nathan's will. This is ironclad. He left everything to you, not just his share of the vineyard, but his majority stake in the family corporation that owns it. Patricia can contest it, but she'll lose. She'll try anyway, I said, remembering my mother-in-law's cold determination. Oh, I count on it. Elena's smile turned predatory. Because when she does, all of this becomes public record. Every dirty detail about how her family built their fortune on stolen land. We didn't have to wait long. The next morning, Patricia's lawyers filed an emergency injunction to block the execution of Nathan's will. Their argument was predictable. I had unduly influenced Nathan, taken advantage of his illness, wasn't really his wife in any meaningful sense. What they didn't expect was our counterfiling, a detailed history of the Delacroix vineyard's true ownership, complete with documentation that would spark a PR nightmare for the valley's elite families. The hearing was set for Friday morning. Patricia arrived at the courthouse looking confident, flanked by 3 expensive lawyers. Her expression when she saw me sitting with Elena could have curdled wine. This is a simple matter, Your Honor, her lead attorney began. Mrs. Delacroix contests the validity of a will made under suspicious circumstances. If I may, Your Honor, Elena interrupted, rising. Before we proceed, I'd like to submit some additional context about the property in question. She began distributing copies of Nathan's research. I watched Patricia's face as she read the first page. She went pale, then red, then pale again. Her lawyers huddled around her, whispering urgently. Your Honor, Elena continued, what we have here is more than a simple will contest. This is about historical justice. The property Mrs. Delacroix claims as her family's heritage was actually stolen from my client's ancestors through documented fraud. The judge, an older woman with shrewd eyes, studied the documents carefully. These are serious allegations, Counselor. They're lies, Patricia burst out. That land has been in our family for generations. Yes, I said quietly, speaking for the first time. But before that, it was in my family for generations. Nathan discovered the truth and spent years documenting everything. That's why he left it to me, not just because I was his wife, but because it was the right thing to do. I pulled out one final document, a photograph from my grandmother's collection that Nathan had found during his research. It showed the Martinez family in front of the original Vineyard house, dated 1946. The woman in the center could have been my twin. Your Honor, Alana said, we're prepared to present extensive evidence of the historical land theft, including similar cases involving other prominent Valley families. Or, she glanced at Patricia's lawyers, we can discuss a settlement that allows for a quiet transfer of ownership while preserving everyone's dignity. The message was clear. Fight this, and every privileged family in the Valley would be exposed. Patricia's lawyers requested a recess. They returned 30 minutes later, ashen-faced. We're prepared to withdraw our objection to the will, the lead attorney announced. Mrs. Delacroix Sr. will also resign her position on the corporation's board, effective immediately. The judge nodded, unsurprised. Will that be satisfactory, Mrs. Delacroix? She asked me. I thought about Nathan, about his years of secret research, about his determination to right a historical wrong while protecting both families' dignity. Yes, Your Honor. With one condition. I turned to Patricia. The Vineyard's history, the true history, should be acknowledged, not hidden away in a secret room. 2 months later, I stood in the Vineyard's tasting room, now renovated to include a historical display. Photos of both families, Martinez and Delacroix, shared the walls. The story of the land, both painful and redemptive, was there for all to see. The 82 Bordeaux had been moved from its hidden room to a place of honor. Nathan's note beside it told visitors its significance. This wine represents both the darkness and light of our valley's history. Made from grapes grown on stolen land, it also became the key to restoring truth and justice. We honor both families' contributions to this vineyard's legacy. Patricia hadn't returned to the vineyard since the hearing, but she'd sent a letter that surprised me with its humanity. Maria, I spent my life protecting a lie I didn't even know was a lie. Nathan was braver than I ever was. He faced the truth and tried to make it right. The vineyard is where it belongs now. Make it something both families can be proud of. I did. The first vintage produced under my full ownership was a blend I called Dos Familias, 2 families. The label featured both the Martinez and Delacroix family crests, with a simple statement, truth, like wine, gets better with age. It won Best in Show at the Valley's annual wine competition. The secret room behind the 82 Bordeaux is still there, but it's not secret anymore. It's a small museum now, documenting the Valley's complex history of land ownership and the families who worked this soil. School groups visit to learn about both the difficulties of the past and the possibilities for reconciliation. Sometimes, late in the evening, I sit in what used to be Nathan's office, looking out over the vines our families have tended for generations. The land doesn't care who owns it legally. It only knows the hands that work it, the love that tends it, the truth that flows through it like wine through veins. Nathan's last words make perfect sense now. The 82 Bordeaux wasn't just wine. It was a key to unlocking truth, a bridge between past and future, a testament to the fact that sometimes the best way to honor a legacy is to correct it. This year's harvest promises to be exceptional. The grapes seem to know they're growing in soil finally free from secrets, nourished by truth as much as rain. When the wine is ready, it will tell a story not just of one family or another, but of justice, love, and the courage to make things right. And somewhere, I like to think, Nathan is smiling.